Good morning and welcome to StickOnHair channel. This is my morning, maybe not your morning. I don't know what time you're watching this or which country you're in. So given the earth is round, okay? Which is why some people are really confused when I say it's been a very cold winter. It's like, it's summertime. It's like, the earth is round, okay? Different times of day, different seasons happen simultaneously. Even different days happen simultaneously. For me, it's currently Tuesday. For you, it's probably just Monday. I'm one of the first countries that spins in towards the sunrise. You get it. This hair piece is something I put on yesterday, and I slept with it on. This is the first hairpiece I've ever had that goes all the way back to here in my new shave zone. It's the largest hairpiece I've ever worn. Well, the other one was also large, but it was just an intermediary try-on piece. You might remember him from one of the previous videos I made as a puppet, inspired by Dark Crystal. Watch that, Age of Resistance on Netflix. So, it doesn't contour in perfectly to my hair, as you would expect, given that I'd shaved my head and then stuck a long hairpiece on. But this is poly, so we're going to look at the front hairline to see if it's accrued any dirt and created that dirty line that we all know and hate. And the answer is, of course, without me even looking at it, that no, of course it hasn't, because it's poly. Poly does not get that dirty line at the front. Poly is carefree, easy to use. And the only disadvantages of poly really are that you can sweat a lot in the summertime underneath the unit, causing it to slip around. There may be a solution to that with ventilation. There is some debate about whether or not that works. I'm the only one in the world who's ever tested it, as far as I've seen. You just take a bunch of pins and poke holes through it so that it can vent heat. Not to the same extent that lace can vent heat, but to a higher extent than poly can currently vent heat, which is there so that heat can vent out. Not that steam can pass through the glue and out, but so that heat can vent out, instead of it all being trapped underneath a giant condom on your head, which is what poly effectively is. And given that I've just increased the size of my poly hairpiece from that to that, it's now gonna make me sweat even more. But it's winter and I haven't had any problems with it yet. When you do sweat, your front hairline is the first thing that lifts up. Inside here, it becomes all wet and soggy. And well, if you're wearing any sort of white glue, basically water-based glue, it will turn white under and you will see the whiteness through the piece because it changes color when wet. Another reason not to use water-based glues. This hairpiece has been on for one day, but still, there is no problem with it, okay? I've got some sweat happening around there, but it is winter time, so I'm not sweating that much. I've kept it the same length around the edges, and despite that video I showed you previously where I cut around to make a rainbow sort of shape, I realized that that doesn't work well for my favorite haircut, the curtains, which is basically where the hair hangs equally on both sides and just sort of flows in to the sides like that. So this is effectively simply transitioned from the back to the front, but not from the sides to the top. So on the sides I've got these 4-inch hairs that are sticking out, even though my hair on the side here is only 1 inch long. So it's an abrupt undercut. But I'm able to brush it in and smooth it out with some hair product, etc. One of the great things about poly is you don't have to worry about getting the hairpiece wet, no matter what type of glue you use, even within 1 minute after you put it on. Because you get the water to run on the head, it hits the plastic and then falls off. It doesn't touch the glue. So, an advantage of poly. Also, if you ride a motorcycle, you don't want to use lace because the glue will stick through, everything will get sweaty, and then the hairs will stick all the way through the piece into the now melted glue. Whereas with poly, even though the glue is melted underneath or you're sweating underneath, there's no way for the hairs to ever touch the glue because it's poly. It's sheathed completely. And I found in my experiments that even if I ventilate by poking holes all through the poly, the holes are so small and ineffective to squeeze out the glue that the glue doesn't squeeze out. So therefore you still have no problem with it. But I think it would probably, I haven't done any proper tests with it except for using an exercise machine to sweat, but no summertime. But I still think that it would help to reduce the sweat of poly. A problem with poly also is that the perimeter never matches in quite as well as lace does. But we can circumvent that problem by always having a long hair style. With a short hairstyle, you're probably better off with lace. But don't ever ride a motorbike. Or wear a helmet. Or a hat. With poly, that's no problem. Poly has a seamless front hairline, except when it lifts up there a little bit. But you have to make sure that you've followed my instructions from previous videos and bleach with peroxide hair dye along the front before you put it on your head. You will have seen some of the burns that I got by putting the chemicals on my head while I was wearing it, and I couldn't rub it out properly, and then I rubbed to try and remove some of that stuff, and it just really was abrasive and caused me to have scabs along the front here. So do it while it's not on your head. And you must have the hairs running from, the way they're stitched in is called the V-loop system, but it's not V, it's actually a U shape. So the V-loops need to be running from nose to spine in their alignment. So like this, and not like this. If they're going horizontal, they're called horizontal V-loops, and that will ruin the appearance of your front hairline. So when you get a stock hairpiece, if you're going to be cutting your hairpieces out of stock hairpieces, you're laying your stencil down on the stock hairpiece, you want to be choosing the longitudinal alignment, because the way they've sewn them in is generally favoring a full topper or cap that somebody has purchased, because the hair companies don't even think to make hairpieces for stock purposes that are simply squares that you can cut out. So they sew in everything with only people with dome-shaped requirements in their mind. They never make stock pieces that are rectangular. And I've been complaining about this for 8 years, but my voice isn't loud enough. I would like to think that if you could order some square pieces that would make it easy for you to cut out your front partials or your tarantulas or your sideburns or mustaches or beards or whatever else you're ordering that is not dome-shaped, then hopefully eventually the hair companies will change their ways and provide both domes and rectangles for people to purchase. But until that happens, I don't know if they've got a big enough imagination to understand how big the market actually is for people who are not balding all the way through. There are more people who are balding, who are only partially balding, and I can almost guarantee this just from my observation in life. There are more people who are partially balding in this world than people who are fully bald. And for everybody who's partially balding, you do not want a dome-shaped stock piece. And the reason I keep talking about stock pieces is, the reason you want a stock piece instead of a custom piece is because you can just say, yeah, I want that one. And it's sent to you within 3 or 4 days. And it's arriving in your mailbox. Cheap, easy, quick, you can get bundle deals, etc. With a custom piece, you have to fill out this form saying exactly what your hair color is, every single style and waviness level, etc. Blah, 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 blah. You might be wondering, how will you order a specific color if you haven't got a sample of that color wheel or some other thing, or you haven't sent in a sample of hair to the company? The answer to that question is guess, all right? You'll see medium brown, medium dark brown, medium brown, light brown, blonde, dark blonde, etc. Look at the pictures. Obviously your screen, your computer screen, and their photograph is not going to be completely aligned with what would happen if that hair was directly in front of your eyes and you're able to look at your real hair and that hair side by side. So it's not as good as that, to look on the screen and guess. But it's better for your sanity and speed, okay? So just guess, take it from me, just guess. One shade off for the first batch that you buy is not a big deal. People won't notice. You'll brush it through. It'll look like you're a bit darker or lighter on the front, or whatever place in your head you're putting it, which I assume is either there or all of that. If it's one shade lighter or darker, It simply does not matter, okay? Especially if you've got some hair product through it, which makes it all darker because it's a bit wet, okay? Then, on your next order, you think this is a bit light. Maybe I needed, instead of medium brown, medium dark brown, which is what I had to do. I started with medium brown. I was putting a bit too light hair on my head. I didn't even notice for a long time. Nobody else pointed it out, that's for sure. And then I went, you know what? I think I could go a bit darker. And the next order, I ordered medium dark brown, and then it was much better. But the first lot didn't affect me too badly. It wasn't a big deal. So that's why I say, look at the stock piece menu of your hair company. If you don't know one, choose Lord Hair. I've tried lots of hair companies where I get deals and get customer service and everything else. And I found a lot of them to be very, very, very B grade or F grade, okay? So Lord Hair is my favorite company. You don't have to choose them, but if you do, use my coupon code at the end of this video, all right? For a 20% discount. So, poly is what I recommend. I just wore lace last time because I was not quite sure, especially since I was making this bigger, and that perimeter was a bit of a problem for me. If you want short haircuts, really short, and you need this perimeter to match, then lace might be better for you. But there are really only two options, lace and poly. There might be combinations of the two, lace plus poly at the front or something else, which might be better for you. But that's advanced, and probably a little bit too advanced for me as well. But in the same way, I can say that cleaning up poly and reusing it is easy. Whereas peeling that off the bottom of lace is probably never gonna happen. I probably won't bother with it. I'll put it in a box to do in the future, and I'll never ever do it. It's just too much pain in the ass. I have spent at least 200 or 300 hours of my life trying to clean poly with a toothbrush, with my fingernail, by rubbing it gently, by using lace release or C22 or alcohol or a toothbrush, or making a gigantic streaky gluey freaking mess on the wall of the shower, and then spending hours cleaning that off the wall of the shower as well, and still having bits of glue coming up through the lace. And I decided, fuck that shit. I don't want to clean lace. Cleaning poly is just a matter of putting your thumb on the edge of the glue on the inside of the poly when you're taking it off, and just taking it off. It all just rolls off the poly because it's plastic. It's totally easy to clean glue off poly. Completely easy. Plus it never comes through that way. With lace, it comes through that way all the time. It also, on laces, hangs around, loiters like a little bitch at the front hairline, and you can never get rid of it. You got to clean away at that front edge. Usually people recommend that you get a baby wipe or a cotton ball. I don't know why to recommend cotton ball, that would just tear to shreds. This does not tear to shreds at all. Look, you have to be pretty tough with this stuff to make it even break. See? Cotton ball, no good. Baby wipe, good. Baguzakali. So you put some alcohol spray like that on the cotton ball or on this thing or whatever, and then you're supposed to just wipe downwards like that every single fucking day, or if you like, every single third day. Every third day. To clean the front hairline with the lace. I say, no, don't bother, just get poly. You can't wear a hat with lace, you can't ride a motorcycle with lace. The glue is shining through everywhere with lace. With this, there is shiny glue underneath here, but why isn't it shining into your eyes right now? Because it's hidden under the plastic. Poly is better. I keep going back to lace and going, why did I try this again? Wintertime, lace might be okay. If you live in a cold climate, lace might be okay. It has a better perimeter meld, all right? It blends better with your natural hairs, just based on that whole lace is a bit frilled at the edges, and therefore it can blend better around here, whereas poly is more like that. around here. But like I say, if the hair is long enough, then no one will ever see that kind of edge. Even with a brush forward look, if that's cut in nicely and it's brushed over pretty well, it works pretty well. Short haircuts, poly can be an issue. Now let's talk about length of hair, because length of hair is also an issue. Longer hair is more controllable. Longer hair has weight. Short hair sticks up. Anything shorter than 1.5 inches, which is approximately, let's say, 3.5 to 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches. If it was that short, it would just be sticking up, okay? You want some length to it. This hairstyle isn't what I would dream about having, but I haven't had a shower. I haven't put any product in it. In my early days as a kid, I used to walk around with just an unstyled hair. I woke up, did that with my hair, and went to school. And the chicks didn't dig me. Then later on, as I got to maybe 15 or something, I started putting a little bit of something in my hair, and boom, something happened. I wasn't so unsightly. I was somewhat attractive to the people I wanted to attract at that point, okay? So you want to put hair product in your hair every time you're going out. When you're sitting at home, playing fucking World of Warcraft with fucking mustard all down your beard and shit, don't worry about it. Nobody's looking. Fucking take it off and don't even wear it. But I have to tell you, I don't feel that I'm wearing a hairpiece. You can't feel ever, with any of the pieces I've ever had, that you're wearing a hairpiece. Your scalp is simply not sensitive enough to understand that there's something on there. Now, if I were to think about it, I can feel that I'm wearing a t-shirt because I know it feels different without one. But then again, I know what it feels to have just the wind blowing past a shaved head as well. So I guess I can feel the difference between those two sensations. But yeah, I can feel this t-shirt on my body more, a lot more, than I can feel I'm wearing a hairpiece. You cannot sense that you're wearing one, okay? So any discomfort kind of anxieties that you thought you might have, don't worry about it. You don't feel it, okay? Hairpieces are very good. So you have to use glue to hold a hairpiece to your head. Which glue? I have never loved this, but it's the only one that's strong enough to hold it on without any problems. I've always hated this. This is acrylic, this is water base. This one, you put it on even a lace unit and jump in the shower straight away. This one, 24 hours, do not sweat, do not pass go, do not collect $200. And by the way, it frays, if it ever starts crumbling around the front, you pull on a little bit and the whole thing pulls out like a big layer of plastic that's all one piece, and then the whole thing turns into little dandruff crumbs all over the place. This rolls into nice little balls, manageable ones, and you can get it off. Unfortunately, this melts at about 25 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a major problem, given that that's the main temperature on Earth. And they haven't thought it through when they made the recipe for this stuff. So, what's better than this? As far as I've found so far, nothing, unfortunately. The ultimate solution would have been maybe lace with some good glue that doesn't get shiny and doesn't melt and doesn't cause that giant mess at the front. Because lace has a really nice transition from the front to the back, sorry, from the forehead to the front hairline, so long as the knots are bleached. That's another problem with lace. Knots are never bleached well enough. The companies just simply don't give a shit about you. They don't love you like I do, okay? And because I love you, I'm here to tell you that poly, which doesn't have bleached knots or bleached V-loops either, needs to be modified when you receive it. So you cut out your stencils, as I'll show you in another upcoming video because I need some more, and I'm gonna cut them out. You're gonna cut them out, and then you need to bleach in about 1 inch with $15 hair dye from your local supermarket. Light blonde, Schwarzkopf, Nordic, whatever it's called, or something similar. You bleach in all around the front there for about 45 minutes, and then you rinse it off, then you hang it up and dry it or whatever, brush it into the position that you will need it to be in when you're putting it on your head later on, and then you get 5 or 6 of them ready to go in your hair box. So that when this one is all fucked up and it's missing hairs and stuff, and it's messy or old or whatever, and you don't want to use it anymore, the next one's just ready to go. So you have to do some work when you get your hair pieces to stencil cut them out, and then bleach the front of them, and then brush them into position and put them away. And then there's another thing you've got to do when you put them on your head for the first time. You have to cut your hair, which I've showed you in a few videos. You brush it forward when it's all wet. You brush sideways like that. That divides it up. You just do that with your fingers until you got the hairs you want, and then use scissors. Paper scissors are fine. Just go like that to cut it out in about 4 or 5 layers between there and there. Okay, and then it's laid. Don't ever put it down like that and just go snip, because you'll look like a fucking scarecrow. The doll effect that we were once worried about with toupees, or that still exists with old people who haven't upgraded to the latest understanding of what toupees are available, no longer exist. Those days are about lace hair pieces that do not have properly bleached knots, or about poly V-loop pieces. By the way, this is 0.03 millimeters thick, the thin skin, right? They need to be bleached along the front. If the hair companies did it, we wouldn't have to do it. But unfortunately, the hair companies don't do it. The hair companies do not do what is required to sell you a decent product. They sell you what they've always sold you. They bring out something a bit better, so polys become thinner, which is great, but the V-loops are still not bleached at the bottom, which is not great. They sell it to you in a dome stock piece, but not a rectangle piece that you can just easily cut out to use for a front partial or a tarantula or sideburns or mustache or beard for a play or movie. They don't sell it like that. You gotta custom order it, which takes 8 fucking weeks. Okay? Now with LordHair.com, who I don't work for, by the way, I recommend them because I've tried Shunfa Hair and Hair Direct and some other bullshit companies, Top Lace and stuff. People still love to recommend Top Lace a lot. I did one review for them from a custom piece, took ages to arrive, was way overpriced, and the knots weren't bleached properly. Okay, so I didn't love it. Lord Hair has been consistent in that I love 99% of what they've given me, and the speed at which they send it to me, and the fact that the shipping is included in the prices they give you. So you don't go, okay, here's the hidden tax price, here's the hidden fucking shipping price, etc., etc. This is the price, that's all you're paying, then it arrives in your letterbox. That's the cool, easy to use aspect of that company, LordHair.com. 20% off, there's the link at the end of the video. If you click links on YouTube pages, that allows YouTube's algorithm to recognize that videos are worthy of being pushed up into the recommended list. If people click links from a YouTube channel that leads to something else on the same channel, that's like points for me or for whoever owns the channel, so that you get higher up in the browsing recommendations in the YouTube algorithm. Okay, so that's why I'm now saying, if you want to find out what the 20% discount is, just go and click it at the end. That means that you'll lead on to another extra bit of points for me so that my videos can grow. And now that I'm putting like an intro video on and I'm trying to be succinct and give you as maximum amount of information as possible inside a video, 24 minutes I haven't stopped fucking talking. Think about my poor little vocal cords, right? I'm doing all this for you. I know I'm not standing here in my own bathroom looking at a wall and just saying this to my own reflection. I'm saying it to you. Why? It was never about money in the beginning, but now I guess it's about money. No, it's not. It's somewhat about money though. Now that I've thought, shit, I can make $1 a day from this stuff. What if I get $2 a day? I've reached 536,000 views on my channel, and if I reach 1 million, then I start thinking about maybe like $3 a day. You know what I mean? That's pretty good. I'm getting $1 a day sort of thing, I think. I've never received the money, but the revenue part of the analytics page tells me you've received about $1, and there are graphs and stuff showing me what people watch and how long for and what their age group is, etc. So that's why I'm telling you to click things at the end. Hopefully this information is useful to you. I haven't really fully comprehended the benefits of having a longer, larger hairpiece back here yet. But I would say, because my hairstyles preferably are rounding with the skull here and then coming out longer that way, I would say if I made the hairpiece back to there instead of ending where it's now ending here, it would be harder for me to put on and do maintenance on it because it would be all the way back there and it's already meeting the horizon from a front mirror's perspective, and I'd probably need an external camera to look over it so I can see down there, etc. Or 3 mirrors that all bounce the light around backwards and reverse and stuff. The camera's the way to do it, by the way. That would give me the ability to probably just shave my head, carve out that bit. When I say shave my head, I mean just use clippers on it to about a level 4 or something, all the way around without even thinking about it, then shave out that area there, then put down a hairpiece and have the hairpiece entirely be the thing that I'm styling, instead of trying to disguise it in with the rest of the surrounding hairs. I think that would be possible. But as it stands right now, I think this is probably improved back here, even though there's direct sunlight shining on this right now. I'm hoping that the baldness factor around the zone has been hugely decreased since I shaved that area. I shaved that area out and I've moved it back further. So I'm really hoping that's what's happened. I'm gonna have a shower now. I'll get out. I'll show you how the poly front hairline has reacted to the heat of the hot water in the shower and the water itself. Water is generally negligible when it comes to, well, poly or acrylic. So we've got a double not care about water factor going on with these two things. So we don't have to really worry about water so much. What we have to worry about is heat, okay? So that's about all you have to worry about with the poly. So long as you've got front nose to spine, so they're going that way, rather than side to side. You don't want horizontal V-loops or even diagonal V-loops. It's always the same look as horizontal. It's the only acceptable way to have the poly's V-loops running. Poly's always using V-loops, by the way. I've never heard of a poly set unit that uses knots. So lace is knots, and poly, I don't know why I'm numbering this, is V-loops. They're more like U-loops, okay? Because doing that with a piece of plastic is not going to stop it from just ripping out and breaking the plastic. Whereas if you do that, that piece of plastic there is going to stop the hair from just ripping out every time you do something like that, right? Which is why they make U-loops instead of V-loops. So, I can hold my hand over my main part of my hairpiece at the front so there's no lifting, while I roughly dry my head over there. As for this area, I take my fingers like this under the towel and dry it like that. So I'm not roughly ripping away at any of the seams at the edge. So in the shower, I use Tresemme shampoo and Tresemme conditioner, just standard shampoo and conditioner that you get at the supermarket. Then I brush my teeth with an electric toothbrush, floss my teeth with a reach handle flosser, and then wash my tongue with a baby wipe, completely. I just had some coffee, so my tongue was brown. Now it's fresh and clean and pink, like your mum. Okay, so I'm still a little bit hot from the shower and just basically the ambient temperature, but not too hot. It's not summertime, it's springtime almost, I think. Yeah, it's September, so I guess we're about 3 days into spring in Australia. That's how we do it. First of the month, not the 22nd or the 23rd of the month or whatever it is. Equinoxes, we don't do that here for some reason. you want to avoid just sort of brushing back from the front hairline where it's at its weakest, where it's a lift point. Any lift point really, you don't really want to brush through that lift point. As long as, I mean, if you had it really nicely pasted down at all points and there was no overhang and no gap, which is impossible, there's got to be some gap or some overhang. Do you understand what I'm saying? At the perimeter, there's going to be some sort of gap between your natural hairs and the hairpiece, or an overhang of hairpiece hanging over onto the natural hairs. For me, there's a little bit of an overhang up here because I haven't got it exactly cut right. Because this is the second piece I've had, well, this is the first piece I've had actually since I've guessed how deep to cut based on the stencil that I invented. You really have to invent your stencil based on what you consider to be your bald area. And your bald area needs to encompass your baby hairs, which you need to shave off. So it then sort of, I relabeled it the shave zone, because you know that's the area where you shave off everything and there's no hair there at all. Now, as I said earlier, this hairpiece is long here, but really short here. But I'm gonna leave it like that so I can do some things with it. In a previous video, I curved up with the cutting, but in this one, I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do instead is style my hair, not with a brush, not with a hairdryer, just with some hair product and my hands. Which is what I normally do, and I'm usually pretty happy with that because I don't think really straight hair totally suits me, and a pasted back hairline doesn't really suit me either. It only really suits gangsters, to be honest. So if you're a gangster, the brush back and Brill Cream look is perfect for you. But for me, I know from experience that this stuff dries. So, and to the extent that there are wisps of hair wanting to fly around, unfortunately, but it does sort of hold in position for a while. This stuff also dries. It's supposed to be sort of leave-in conditioner, but it's not. It has no real hold to it. Muck is my favorite, but it clumps all the hairs together and it doesn't give it that nice kind of healthy hair look. Muck is more of a deliberate clay in their hair kind of look with mini dreadlocks happening throughout your hair, which I haven't minded in the past, but since this is a fairly new hairpiece, well, it's very new, I'm going to simply put this stuff, which is basically just wax, but it's not like normal wax, it's cream, really. But they've called it wax on the title. I'm gonna leave the tap running so I don't have to mess up the taps when I run my hands under the tap. I still don't know the difference between the term for the handle and the faucet spout. What's the one you wind called? There has got to be a name for it. It's not a spigot, is it? The spout would just be the very end, right? Like, I'm a little deep but short and stout. How's the bald spot going? Eventually I'm probably going to have to get a full topper to cover that. But for now I'm just going to let it try to be hidden by some longer hairs as they grow. But I'm getting to the extent that I don't really want these hairs to be much longer than they already are. So we'll see. So one or two hairs have come out during that process, as they would with your real hair if you did it. But with lace, about 6 or 7 hairs would have probably come out during that process, just to let you know. If I'm going to call this episode Frequently Asked Questions, I probably need to tell you some things about price. One of these is about $15. That's a spray bottle of alcohol. You need that. That's a bottle of Ultra Hold. I think it's about $45. Forget that shit, that's water-based glue. The comb, this came for free when I bought a 6-pack of Hairpieces from Lord Hair. You'll need Hairpieces. I recommend the 6-pack of ultra-thin 0.03mm poly, which I think on Lord Hair at this time and this date that I'm releasing this video is $699 for a 6-pack. So that's less than $100 per hairpiece. If you haven't used it before, use my coupon code to get 20% off at the end of this video. C22, can't remember how much this is, but it lasts for ages. Probably about 20 bucks, something. Hairbrush, don't know, $5, $6, 12 bucks maybe. One of these things, girl's hairband, which you need maybe $7.95. Muck, which I normally use, all this stuff. Let's just assume that all of these things are about $10 to $25. The best ones are $25, but you don't want some tiny amount. They say, oh, you just need a tiny little bit, a blob that size. You never need a blob just that size. You want heaps more. And even during the day, you might want to put more in. So you'll need about that much per day. So maybe you need to buy a bunch of those. I don't really use a hairdryer, except for my most recent video. It's the first time I've ever really used it. In any of my videos, I don't want to use it now either. You need a hat, just in case your hair's fucked and you can't fix it and you've got to run out the door. You can just put your hat over the top of everything. By the way, don't forget, if you wear a hat with lace, it'll fuck your hairpiece, so that's another reason to get poly. So hairspray, poly, 10 bucks, 20 bucks, I don't know. So $10 to $25 for every hair styling product. There are a couple of other things you'll need. You need a razor blade, shave your shave zone. You'll need a water bottle with spray so you can spray your hair to wet it and style it and do some other things like that. And make sure that your hair, when you wet your hairpiece at the beginning, you run it under the tap and wet it and brush it on your knee like that to get it already prepared in the direction you're going to place it. So I place the back first, so I'd have them all brushed in this direction, which they already are. Then I place it back there and glue it on. Pull that back with this and glue the front of the poly and then place it down and it lands exact. If you're going to be using lace instead, you would pre-glue just the same as you would with the poly on the shave zone. And then keep that held back with this. Then use tape by cutting, you'll need scissors as well, for cutting your hair and bits and pieces off the front and edges of the hairline, and also cutting your hair pieces out of the original hairpiece that it comes from. You'll need a stencil. That's not really about money, that's just a used container that you found in the recycling bin. This comes from effectively shaving your head first, or just, no, actually you wouldn't shave your head first because it's too scary to do it that way. Just say you've got two receding licks there, okay? And you think, you know what, I'll just do 2 triangles and just, that'll work. No, it won't. It won't, I'm sorry. You can't just put gaps in here and there. You could if it was just here, just a tarantula to put at the back. That's the only time. But if you want to do the front, you can't just leave that there of your natural hair and then put 2 hair pieces there. It doesn't look good. It's the wrong density. It never looks right. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to shave that off and make it a rounded area. And then what people often do is cling wrap around their head, tape it down with clear marking tape. That's not clear, but tape like that around the whole thing, create a rounded solid structure, and then use a marker to trace where you would like your front hairline to go. Bear in mind that the very top nub of your forehead, the top of the tub nub, is where your hair would have naturally gone to. If your top of your forehead nub doesn't have too much of a fold in it, a lot of them sort of get thinner and thinner as they go higher, then you're probably just gonna have to guess. Don't put your hairline down to there, that'll look just stupid, all right? If you do it, it won't matter too much because you can cut it out and then just try and rub the glue off. Better not having to rub glue off the forehead if you can help it. With poly, you never really have that problem once it's all done and done properly. So just say you trace that bit there, you go from the temples to around, make a nice round line with your free hand, all right? Around there, like that, and then trace around where your hair ends, okay? And then now that's there, off your head, like it could be all around there, all right? It could be all the way around to the back if you need a full topper. Now this rounded shape, you pull it off, right? That could effectively be your stencil, but tape and cling wrap don't make a very good stencil, so you're better off taking that piece, whatever you've drawn, put it onto a recyclable food lid, like this one, and then make a new stencil that's harder and more robust that you can permanently use as your stencil. This is who you are from now on. So, you got your stencil. You buy the hairpiece, it'll be a big dome. If it's stock, if you ordered it custom, you made a mistake because you're gonna have to wait for 8 weeks. Then after 8 weeks are finished, and whatever else has been made specifically for you, instead of you just choosing one off the shelf, which would have been good enough, you should have done that. Then you take your stencil, you put it on, awkwardly try to trace around it with the marker inside the hairpiece, on the back of the hairpiece, on the lace or the poly, and then you cut it out, and it ends up looking either like that or like that, depending on whether it's lace or poly. Now you've got a hairpiece. Then you glue down at the back first, wait 15 minutes for, say, the glue to dry, spray alcohol onto that glue, place the hairpiece back exact using a mirror or a camera system if you need to see further back. Glue that on, press it down, brush it away from the front edge, all the way down to just before the front hairline. Hold that back with one of these, keep all the hair out of the way. Apply the glue to the poly. I'm just going to assume you're going to buy poly and not lace like an idiot. No, it's not idiotic to buy lace. I've gone through phases of wanting lace, okay? You might want to ventilate the poly. If you're wise, you probably will. I haven't done it for this piece, but that's because I'm still experimenting a little bit. I'm not sure 100% that ventilizing the hairpiece will work. Ventilizing is basically poking holes through the bottom of the poly so that heat can vent out. Not the steam from your sweat, but the heat from your head, so that it doesn't melt the glue or cause sweat to form underneath the glue and just stay there without any chance of it venting out. That doesn't happen with lace so much. It doesn't happen at all with lace, actually. What happens with lace instead is that there's no sweat to cool the glue down, and so the glue instead melts and shines right through, and then every hair that you press down in summertime will stick there and create a huge mess. And after one day in summertime of wearing lace, you'll have to throw your piece in the bin and then start it again. Don't wear lace. Unless it's winter, but don't wear lace. Unless you've got a really short haircut, but still don't wear lace. Poly is just easier in so many ways, okay? I have reconsidered lace, but now I've unreconsidered it, because I just love going back to poly straight away. Make sure you have bleached along the front. I'll show you again how to do that in an upcoming video because I'm going to do it again, but I've got previous videos already showing you how to bleach the front of that, because you don't want a wall of hair. And this basically applies predominantly the bleaching of the front of the hairpiece for people with pale skin and dark hair, which is a lot of people, okay? If you've got dark skin and dark hair, you might not have to bleach the front area. In fact, you probably shouldn't, otherwise you're hanging out a bit of blonde right there. But you definitely still need to have bleached knots if you're gonna use lace. Everyone needs that. Dark skinned people with light hair, yeah, you probably want to bleach the knots as well, and the front area here. So nearly everyone has to bleach that front zone with poly, okay? Because those V-lips and those hairs coming abruptly out of your forehead are gonna look fake. It'll be a wall of hair. I wouldn't be surprised if you type in wall of hair into Google that the wall of hair that we talk about in the hairpiece community is the main wall of hair throughout the world. I don't think there's a movie for kids called Wall of Hair. If there is, please write it in the comments below, because I wouldn't mind watching that. I'd assume it'd be like the troll hair. Might be an episode about the trolls or something like that. Trolls 4, the Wall of Hair. If it's something like that, tell me in the comments below. So my hair is obviously better looking than my face right now. It's gonna dry a bit more and it'll go a bit more fluffy, at which point I might think I should have used muck and not this stuff. But the muck is in my backpack because I went and stayed at my dad's place. So I have to get it out and then put it on afterwards. And I'll probably have already uploaded this video before I do that. So just let's assume that if this becomes fluffy, I will go ahead and do that. It's not windy today, but still you should always really kind of make your hair a little bit windproof. Most people can't make their hair windproof because the wind is always present in the human world and the animal world and the plant world. Basically, Earth has wind, and most of the planets in the universe have wind as well. Even in the vacuum of space, there's solar wind, isn't there? So always make sure your hair is kind of a little bit windproof as best as you can, without making it concrete, okay? So this is my hair for today. I'm happy with it. There are a few bits and pieces where I haven't cut the hair exactly properly, and you can see here, this is a hairpiece a hair that I've just pulled out. It was long, so I just pulled it. And don't forget that a hair from a poly hairpiece is double the length. It goes all the way in and then comes all the way out another way. It goes like a big spaghetti piece. And that's why it's that long when you pull it out. Okay? But I find that lace hairpieces molt. Is that the word? Molt? I don't know how to spell molt. M-O-L-T? I think they molt more than poly hairpieces do. So there you go. There are some frequently asked questions answered. So I don't know any other really major questions that people want to know the answer to. Is there anything else to know? It's pretty straightforward. So long as you've got your stencil and you cut out your hairpieces correctly, and you don't have to worry about the front hairline too much. So long as the rest of your hair is cut nice enough to accommodate the style of the hair that you've cut on your head, it should be fairly straightforward. There are occasional problems that usually occur 5 or 6 days after you've started wearing it, but usually if you're in poly, no problems will occur in the front hairline once it's on. And you can have showers straight away, you can go to the gym, work out, you can go surfing, whatever else. I intend to go skydiving with this thing on my head, just to show you all that it won't come off as well. What else? How long does the hairpiece last? The hairpiece lasts, okay, so there are 3 times you need to sort of take into account. One is, how often do you have to do front hairline maintenance? Front hairline maintenance has to happen with lace every day, and with poly about once every 5 or 6 days, where you sort of make sure that there's no dirt or glue stuck with any hairs stuck in it around the front edge along there. So with lace, it's all the time, probably more than once a day. Probably go and make sure you carry a hand mirror with you with lace, so make sure that nobody saw me like that, and then clean it up, which means you're probably going to carry some of this around with you with some baby wipes at all times with lace. With poly, once every 5 or 6 days. On those days, you may need to peel back the front edge, hold it back with this, peel off the glue with your fingernail, or the tip of your finger, clean your forehead with baby wipes and alcohol spray, and either if it's poly, you just re-glue along the poly line, wait 15 minutes and press it down. It'll be exact and perfect in the end for another 5 or 6 days. Or with lace, you basically have to go through the whole process of tape marking precisely where it's going to land and go through all that rigmarole. But yeah, tape marking is a lot more effective than guessing with lace. So look up my tape marking method if you're going to be using lace. because it really helps you to get a more exact glue that's nice and thick and ready at the front hairline so it doesn't lift very easily. But it doesn't really prevent that dirty line of dirt that appears all the time with lace. That dirty line does not appear with poly. I don't know why, the glue never seeps out. The only time it would happen is if you were in such a hurry, you glued the poly that was ready to be pressed down at the front, and somebody knocked on the door and you just had to go and answer the door. There's no chance for you to say, just a minute, and you know you're going to be 15 minutes waiting for that thing to dry. You could just press the poly down while it's completely wet glue, press it down, do that, fix your hair, style it, and nobody would see that over the next 30 minutes, because there's no air getting in there anymore, over the next 30 minutes that poly is going to dry. But you'll be having a conversation and having a coffee or going running or something during the time that it's drying. But if you do that, squish it down while it's wet, there is a chance that tiny little amounts of glue will be squeezed out from the front, and then you'll have a hairline that's dirty next time you go to do a hairline maintenance thing, which might be the next day. So if you do that, instead of waiting the 15 minutes, it might be as dirty as lace would be on that first day. But after you fixed it, you'll go back to 5 or 6 days. Every 5 or 6 days you'll have to do hairline maintenance. So that's the first timing thing. The second timing thing of the three, okay? The second timing thing is, after every 2 or 3 weeks, you have to take your whole hairpiece off and then clean and reshave your head. The glue is now deteriorated and mixed with the salt from the sweat in your body. So you basically need to take the hairpiece off after 2 to 3 weeks, squeeze with poly, just peel the glue off the hairpiece, which will take you about 60 seconds, really easy. Okay, wash it, shampoo and conditioner, okay, in the sink, brush it on your knee in the direction that it's going to be coming down from so you can aim where it's going to land, and then go through exactly that entire step of putting your hairpiece on as if it was for the first time once again. With poly, it should be basically as good as new. There could be some small degradations from hair brushing and so on where you've lost a couple of hairs here and there. Usually if you're rough with it around the front hairline, that's where you'll notice some degradation, which means that you will eventually have to replace the hairpiece completely with a brand new one, which is the third amount of time. So how often do you have to replace your hairpiece completely and throw one away? With lace, let's say once every 3 weeks, because you never want to clean it, so just chuck it out. That's what you do with lace, in my opinion. Some people just go to huge time-wasting effort to clean their lace hairpieces with a toothbrush, with a toothpick, by sliding it down the wall of the shower, by scrubbing the shower wall of all the glue, trying to get glue off everything with this stuff, and it's an enormous pain in the ass. Don't do it. Do yourself a favor, get poly, not lace. Okay, 0.03mm poly, $699, get a 6-pack from lordhair.com. With my coupon code, you'll save 20%, so it'll be like less than $100 per hairpiece. And if you can cut 2 out like I do, then each hairpiece is half the price of that. Okay, so you're paying about, let's say, 50 bucks for each hairpiece. And how often do you have to throw it away with poly? Maybe when you just feel like you've pulled away too many hairs at the front. Okay, that's the time. Or if you've got too much glue that you accidentally spilled onto the poly hairpiece, which I'd say that won't happen. Just assuming that doesn't happen, you don't put glue all through it, which you can incidentally if you really want to keep that hairpiece, you can clean it out with this stuff, okay? But otherwise, the degradation that comes from pulling hairs out when you're brushing it and so on, I'd say once every, I'd say 2 to 3 months. I'll give you a nicer figure, let's say 2 months. I like to be conservative so you don't worry about it. You could stretch it out to 6 months if you're really careful with it, but why do you want to be careful with your fucking head, right? Your head is like leading your life, and you're doing stuff and you're sleeping on a pillow and rubbing it around. Don't be so careful with your hairpiece. Go and fucking get a job and make some money so you can buy more hair, all right? So let's say 6 hairpieces. If you cut them in half like I do for partials, I used to get 3, but now I only get 2 as of today, basically, because this is a larger one. So I can't get 3 anymore, I can only get 2. So if you get two hair pieces, if two of your stencils fit on a standard stock hairpiece, so you can cut out two of them, and you get a 6-pack, and they last for 2 months each, then you get 12, so a 6-pack for $699 with a 20% discount, which makes it like $500 and something. Right? I think that's right. Sorry if it's $100 off or whatever, but it's probably right. Then you'll get 12 months of hair from that one 6-pack. But if you're starting out, you're going to do some incorrect cutting it out. You'll cut it out incorrectly or trace it incorrectly. Don't get black texture mark underneath. Don't slip and miss. And don't have such a weak, flimsy stencil that it just buckles on the edge or bends in permanently because you chose the wrong Chinese takeaway lid. Make sure your stencil's robust, but it can still curve if you need to around the inside. That's why I say the lid of a Chinese takeaway container is perfect. So long as the plastic isn't so old that it's become brittle and it just cracks and breaks easily. Right? Yeah, so those times again, let's forget about lace because it's like once a day. So with poly, it's front hairline maintenance every 5 days, completely take off and clean it every 3 weeks, throw it away and get a new one every 2 months. Yeah, sorry, so it'll last you 2 years. You'll get 2 years supply if you have 12 and you are that careful with it. In fact, if you were so careful that you strung it out so that it'll last 6 whole months for one hairpiece for $700 or $600 or something, you would get 6 months times 12, which is basically 6 years supply for $700. You see, it's not an impossible amount of money, but I wouldn't keep a hair piece for 6 months. It's not that it's unhygienic, it's perfectly hygienic with poly, it's plastic, you clean it, it's exactly like new on the bottom of it. And it doesn't tear very easily, unless you're really not careful with it. So yeah, and it might last less long as well if we start doing ventilation, which I might get more into, because I don't want to have sweat underneath my poly hairpiece. Nobody can see the sweat, but it will mean in summertime, you might have to take your hairpiece off every 2 weeks instead of every 3 weeks, because it just gets all, I mean, the sweat dries as your head cools and your body reabsorbs the sweat, but there's no real way without ventilation for any of that heat to escape very easily at all. Unlike lace, which doesn't cause a massive amount of sweating, but the glue is melted and shines through and you can't wear a helmet or anything. So yeah.